Cut.
And you didn't hang up right away.
Yeah,
so
you didn't hang up right away.
yeah, that's
Never.
Yeah.
I would never do that to you. Yeah. But next time when I show up on my phone, you guys will know what's going on.
We'll know that we know that we sucked the first.
Just show up on the phone and just have it point to the ceiling the whole time. Like, God, what a dick.
Just every once in a while. Oh,
Joel will be
still,
like, he had an RE20 last time, right? What's going on? What happened this? What is this?
Welcome to Curling Nation, Season 2, Episode 9. John Cullen wins a pager. Today on the show we got comedian, curler,
podcaster,
commentator extraordinaire,
tweeter,
many
tweeter,
hats.
John Cullen. I'm Joel Dietz.
I'm Mike.
Craig.
Not Craig. We don't got any updates. Olympics are happening now, so
yeah, Olympics will have started by the time this comes out.
Yep.
The Scotties will be
Way
done.
to go, Chris and Vicky. Keep it up.
Yep.
Woo!
Hooray!
Oh, actually, by the time this comes out, the
USA.
men and women will have started too. Maybe.
Depends when you drop this. You're gonna do it. Usually, you get it out by next Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
Because doesn't
John, Tab, teams, good job on game 1. Way to go.
Maybe Chris and Vicky will have a medal
if you haven't played yet.
Super duper. Because that goes through what? It goes. I guess
goes
quick.
It goes through Tuesday. It goes through two Tuesdays, so the gold medal game will be close to happening now. So, good luck on the gold medal game, Chris and Vicky.
Do it. Woo!
Hopefully, you're playing Australia.
Scotties will be done. Congratulations to
Kristen McCarville.
Ooh, I don't know if that's a good guess right now.
I have no idea what her record is. Congratulations to...
Has anybody won 3 times in a row? In the Scotties? I don't know.
I don't know.
I think it's going to be Anderson.
Oh, yeah, she's good. They're really good.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to them in the Olympic trials, but...
Yeah.
They're doing well so
Sure,
far.
they probably won.
I'm going way off the board because they're playing real great right now. New Brunswick.
Oh, that'd be great to
Do
see.
it. That would be awesome.
All right. Way to go.
Do it.
What's her name again?
Andrea Crawford.
Andrea Crawford.
Good luck.
Unfortunately, she's not from the Gage and Country Club in Oromocto. I love it when Vic says
Where is that?
In New Brunswick?
Oromocto. Where is Oromocto?
I don't know where it is. It's in New Brunswick.
Are you sure?
Yeah. I think James Grattan is from Oromocto. And that's why
I'm gonna look it up.
I like it when Vic says Oromocto.
All right. Craig can look that up, but let's bring in John.
It is in New Brunswick.
I told you.
There you go. Oromocto, New Brunswick. Look it up. It's a great place. Now here's John.
All right, we got a brand new guest on the show this week. Not somebody we've run back twice. He's coming to us all the way from the West Coast, way up in the northwest corner of BC. He's a curler. He's a comic. He's really good at finishing second. He's got a pretty dope podcast that I've been listening to a lot lately. John Cullen, welcome to Curling Nation. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, I was doing good until you brought up me coming in second a lot of times.
I'm not very good at being nice.
Thanks for reminding me right off the top of the show. Wow, this is great.
Let's get into it. How many
Welcome
times
to the
did you?
show.
How many times did you finish second?
Three times, and 3 times at the provincial level, and that 2 men's, 1 mixed, and then a number of times on tour as well. But those are the punishing ones, definitely. Yeah. So it's not. I mean, it was like it sucked because Botcher came second 4 times in a row at the Briar. So then that was really bad for me because my whole thing was that I came second, but I came second in BC. No one cares about that. So now he's come second 4 times at the Briar, and then everyone's like, "Oh, poor Brendan," and I'm like, maybe I got to lose the silver medal gimmick, you know? But then he won. I never won, so at least I have that going for me.
Now you're back.
Well, you've got hope now because he won. He got off the schneid. So
No,
you can too, right?
You're done curling.
I'm done. I retired. I can't.
I saw on Twitter John's angle now is he wants to be the Adam Schefter of the curling world. You want to be the insider, right? Is that
That's
your
right.
new angle? Yeah.
That's right. So curling's never had one, you know. So I feel like it would be fun because it's, you know, because people like some people responded to that, saying, oh, well, Devin Haru is the insider or whatever. And like, obviously Devin's a great reporter and he does get some scoops, but for the most part, curling teams report their own news. So there is no set, you can't be a curling insider by virtue of the teams insisting on doing it all themselves. So I've really tried to like, I just want to get it started. I just think it would be fun to have like rumors and speculation. I mean, there's already that kind of stuff flying, but if you had someone that was like sort of reliable, that was like stoking the fire every now and again, I just feel like that would be very fun. So I do want to be the guy. And I already came up with the perfect name. I'm going to sign all my tweets XOXO Gossip Curl, which I think is just very fun. So it's just like, I want this to happen. And it's funny because I do have some curlers in my DMs who are like, you know what, I'll do it. I'll let you, if I have news to break, I'll pass it to you first. So
nice.
So I'm hoping that it comes true, but then it goes both ways too. Cause then I've gotten like, honestly, when I sent out that tweet, it was mostly just a joke. And then people started filling up my DMs being like, oh, I heard this, whatever. And like only like half of the stuff that I heard has actually come true. So I'm like, I need more reliable sources before I can start throwing this stuff out there,
That seems fair.
What one came true that you weren't expecting?
I knew that Tracy Fleury had COVID like 36 hours before anyone announced it. So that. But then that was a tough one because it wasn't like a team one. It was like a medical one, right? So you're like, I can't be out there like Tracy Fleury has COVID and then like she does it and I'm like disclosing not only that she's
Personal
not going to
information.
play maybe, but that's personal information, right? So it was just one of those things. And then it was funny because like the source that I got it from, I didn't really know super well. So I was kind of like, okay, I don't think they're lying to me, but I don't know them very closely. So I was just kind of like, okay. And then another person said it and I'm like, okay, this is maybe getting pretty close. And then some friends of mine who are in the Scotties were also telling me it. So I was like, okay, I think this is pretty true. But again, it was just like a medical thing where I was like,
well, you could just
sucks,
sign up
then,
both. You could sign up both verified and unverified, or
yeah,
give a scale 1 to 10, verified or no. Then a 1 is a joke. A 10 is verified several times.
Yeah, that's a good. Maybe I got to institute the scale. Maybe that's how we get going on this like curling insider tip.
Do you want to be do you just want to be a Canadian curling insider or like all curling? Like,
all curling.
All curling.
Yeah,
right.
I'll take it all. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm usually the last one to hear, but I'll give you the inside scoop when I hear stuff. Which is
if you have
never.
it, let me know.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you guys got a curling podcast. You must learn something.
Tens of people listen to it, John.
I hear
great.
stuff.
We can just start making shit up.
Yeah.
Are you cool with that? I mean, well, I guess that would be low on the scale.
Yeah.
All right.
This will be
That's
a
fair.
1 to 3 show. Yeah.
Yeah, we're at the bottom end of that scale right now for reliability. So
We'd be like Adam Schefter would get in a pile of shit for telling everybody that Tom Brady's
Who's Adam Schefter? Oh, he's a
NFL insider.
Yeah,
he's the NFL guy. Yeah, he gets in trouble. I mean, that's the thing is like I think enough of curling stuff is very speculative anyway. So like, yeah, maybe I could get away with it. I don't know. It's definitely funny though. It's definitely interesting to see just who was sort of popping in my DM. And I even had players. I won't say who, but I had a player pop into my DMs being like, have you heard anything? Because I don't know, I might be looking and I kind of don't really know what's happening necessarily, but I might be looking. So what do you know?
Was that Darren Molding? You can say it was Darren Molding because I think everybody knows that didn't go well.
No, it wasn't Darren Molding. That's the only information I'll share. It wasn't Darren Molding, but
that's fine.
It was very funny to me. It was, I will say it was a pretty high-ranking player. Like people would know this player.
Got it.
And it was interesting. Yeah, they were like, I don't know if I'm not really sure what's happening. And I think the main thing, and I've heard this from a few top-level curlers, is that like no one knows who's retiring. So that's like I think that's like the big thing right now. I think usually going into like a quadrennial turnover, like we're just about to go into, you generally have a sense of, you know, which teams are going to break up and which teams aren't and who might be a free agent and whatever. But I think even the curlers themselves are struggling because the people who are on the edge of maybe retiring, Jacobs, Gushu, Cooey, you know, those guys, they haven't decided yet. So it's like until the top skip dominoes start to fall, you know, you have all these thirds and seconds and leads who are kind of like, I don't know what's going to happen. So that's, I think, going to be the really interesting one. Like I wrote in my, I have a curling newsletter as well. And I wrote, like, I think on the ladies' side, Jennifer Jones is the big one. Because I think if she retires, then Caitlin Laws is going to skip. And I think if Caitlin Laws skips, she's going to break up a couple teams by herself just to take people because everyone's going to want to play with her. And so that's going to be the really interesting one to see. I think that's the like big domino on the women's side. And then, like I said, in the men's, there's a few people where it's like, who knows? So it's a really interesting quad that way where it's, I think even the players themselves are kind of confused.
Yeah, and certainly I could see after the Olympics, people retiring for a year and then coming back. So,
Mark Kennedy set the blueprint for that, right? Where he took a year off, rested his hip, and because the first year, I mean, in Canada, I mean for the world too, but in Canada, especially where the points really matter, they don't matter in the first year. So if you're going to take a year off, that's the one to do it for sure.
But they all basically just came off of a year off too from all the COVID stuff. I mean, you know, all those guys that have been, like you just mentioned, like Cooey and Jacobs and Kushu that would normally have been playing, I don't know how many weeks they play in a year, 20 weeks in a curling season. I mean, they just played 5, you know, that's basically like taking a year off from them. So maybe they aren't as worn down and they'll get a year or two into this, like you said, the quadrennial, and they'll be like, no, man, I can't do this for another 4 years. And they're just going to be like, I don't know.
This is dumb.
Yeah. It's gonna hit that point where it's like, all right, well, I'm either gonna have to do it or I gotta bail now because I'm gonna screw everybody over. You know, the points are gonna be an issue with if I bail next year halfway through because my hip can't do it anymore or whatever. So it'll be interesting to see. You think who do you think we've seen the last of? Do you have any guesses?
I really think I think Gushu. I think Gushu's done after this year. That's he's just the way he's talking is really interesting. He did this interview. This was also in my newsletter, but he did this interview with a newspaper, an Atlantic, like a maritime newspaper or web service or whatever.
Yep.
And just the way he was talking, and he's even done this in the lead up to the Olympics and doing media, he's just sort of gently kind of floating out things where he's sort of like, oh, maybe I'm going to be done. I don't really know, you know, and it's no secret, like his hip is not in a good place. Mm-hmm. You know, you can even see that when he's playing. He can't throw as much weight as he used to be able to. And I know, like, they played a really light schedule leading into the Olympics, like into the Olympic trials. I think his hip health was a big factor in that. So that's the one that I think is interesting, because I think there's a chance that he's done. And I also think there's a pretty good chance that Brett moves to Alberta, because him and Jocelyn are getting married in June. So I think that's the big one. Jacobs, I don't really know. I think that's kind of up in the air. My personal feel is I'm leaning towards he's maybe also done at least for next year. And then I think Cooey's going to keep playing. That's my personal feel. I think Cooey's just one of those guys, you know.
Glenn
he just
done?
feels like
Glenn's
he's just going to keep going. I think Glenn's going to be done. Yeah.
What about you? Do you
I
want
think
to
so.
announce your retirement on the show?
No, I already did.
You already did?
I re-retired.
Yeah.
I re-retired after draw 9 of the Olympic trials.
He pulled a mark too.
That's what I said. And about game 4 is when I said this is dumb, and I shouldn't have unretired just to get into trials. No, that's not true. But
Got it. Got it.
No, I am officially back off of the.
You're definitely retired.
Yes,
Not
I
coming
don't.
back at
I
all.
don't want to
Like
travel. My knee
one-
sucks.
one like fun spiel a year. maybe?
Yeah, I'll play some fun
Couple-
spiels.
couple fun
and,
spiels,
like
alright.
dominate Monday night.
Nice.
Although I did lose last night.
You still curl, don't you, John? Do you curl?
You
leagues
play
or
leagues?
anything? Nothing.
You don't even
Nope.
play league?
No?
I have not thrown a rock in almost 3 years.
Whoa!
Wow.
Yeah, I'm like done. Yeah,
Get back on the horse, man.
No, curling sucks. You know, no, it obviously doesn't. But like, I feel like what Craig is saying, it's like this year was really interesting because my former teammates made the BC final.
Yeah.
And so, and they had a really good week. Like they went undefeated all week. And they are guys I played with for a decade. And so like all week I was getting these texts, you know, from friends in BC and stuff. Oh, it must be really hard for you to see Paul and Jay doing so well, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, it's not hard at all. Like I just don't miss it in the least. And then they lost the final two. So that I'm like, now I really don't miss
Now
it.
I don't
Yeah.
don't miss that feeling at all. Got it.
Yeah.
And now at least
I
it's not you coming in second place. Like it's not you. It's not you.
I know I dodged that silver bullet if you want to call it that. But yeah, it was. I mean, I totally like Craig's exasperation is sort of I feel that exact same way. Like I feel like even if I came back for something like a provincial run or whatever, I feel like I'd get halfway through it and I'd be like, oh, what are you doing? You know? And I just never played league. Like I'm not saying I'll never do it in my life, but for me, the joy in curling was always at the top level of the game. The game at the rec level is a different kind of game, and I don't enjoy it as much. I don't drink, so that part of the kind of the culture of curling and stuff doesn't mean as much to me either. So I'm not saying I'll never do it, but yeah, for now it was just like one of those things where it's kind of been nice to just sort of leave it in the rear view for the moment. And I'm obviously still very involved in the sport,
Yeah,
and
you
I
do-
love the game. You know,
do
so it's
commentary for what is it? Which one are you aligned with? Curling.
curling.com.
Curling.com. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Maybe you should
Yeah, so
start
I've been doing
drinking.
that. It might, yeah. Maybe that'll be how I get back into curling. 36 years old, just pick up
Just
drinking.
pick it up. No,
Yeah.
you know.
Like, Monday Night Men's is actually really sick. I love this.
I love it. I love
No,
Monday Night Men's.
Monday Night Men's
and
is pretty fun.
The main reason I love it is sitting around drinking some beers afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Till way too late, but
Which is also part of the start of this podcast was like it was us sitting around a table after games just talking about curling.
yeah. And then when the whole curling world stopped, we needed an excuse to hang out together
There you go.
once a week or
Absolutely.
once every couple weeks. So
Yeah.
What do you think about the U.S.? Do you think we've seen the end of anybody? Is anybody done here?
Oh, well, that's a good question, actually. Wow. What do you guys? It's probably more of a question for you guys. I mean, I don't think Johnny's done. I think he's probably got another quad in him, right? I mean, Rich is done for sure, obviously, I think. Or I mean, who knows? The thing with the U.S. is like, you know, you can just show up, right? Like, Rich could take 3 years off and then in 2025 be like, oh, no, you know what? I'm coming back. Like,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
They can pull the Craig Brown and
They can
come
pull the
back
Brown.
and just,
Yeah.
I'm back in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so retire, who knows? But I mean, that's my sort of feel. What do you guys think? Is Nina done too? Maybe.
No.
I wouldn't be surprised if almost everybody like took a year off.
Yeah,
like there is nobody that would surprise me.
So you're
Not
saying I
playing
got a
this season.
chance?
Yeah.
Yes!
Like other than Dropkin.
Dropkin's team
right.
won't.
Like
but
they'll play
I bet
probably
Polo-
in their entirety.
Polo
Yeah, I
would
would
probably
think
be
there's a
off
good chance
a year.
Polo might say enough, or at least
Yeah.
take a year
Or
or two.
Stay
And I
fifth.
wouldn't
play a real limited schedule.
I wouldn't be surprised if Schuster took a year off, unless he wants to do a kind of a I don't know. I'm the Olympic team tour, where
Yeah.
you get to take advantage of all those perks, all those invites and capitalize on that. But I wouldn't be surprised if he took a season in this quad and didn't play.
Landsteiner will take a year off.
I could see Landsteiner. I could see him quitting entirely in theory. And all of the women, like, I wouldn't be surprised if any of them took a year and or two and had
Jamie Sinclair will keep
kids.
playing, I bet.
Sinclair will keep playing with the new team.
That would be my guess.
Yeah.
But I don't think Monica Walker will keep playing.
Who knows?
She's pulled a Craig like 4 times.
Yeah, I know.
No,
They always,
she didn't like
they
the
always
Easter, I
bring
She's
her
terrible
back in.
at it though, because like
Yeah.
I threw 24 practice rocks in 3 years,
Yeah.
and she like has never lasted more than about 3 or 4 months being retired. So
There you go.
She retires every summer. So
yeah, she's terrible.
Yeah, it's definitely like that's what I mean. It's a weird because it's like it's all these guys that are at weird ages, right? Like Schuster's in that sort of same age range as like Jacobs, Gushu, where you're like they're not really like they don't have to retire. They're we've seen curlers have a lot of success into their mid and late 40s, or in some of their cases like early 40s. I think Brad's the same age as me, and I think John's a year older than me maybe. But yeah, so it's like they're in that sort of where you don't have to retire if you don't want to, but I could get it. And I think, Craig, your point about the Olympic tour or whatever, that's I think that's the big X factor. It's the same thing with Brad and Jen up here. Is like, I think both of them, if they don't go to the Olympics, I think they're both done for sure. And then I think just going to the Olympics adds like a certain percentage of, maybe they're going to come back. And then if they win gold, it adds that extra level of pardon me, or like, maybe they come back to rake in some sponsorship dollars for a year, do the thing. I mean, with Schuster, it's different. You get a real view of like the Canadian star system when we have people win gold medals, because it's like Brad Gushu could win a gold medal, and what does that mean? Nothing. Schuster wins a gold medal and he's on the Tonight Show, and he's on Saturday Night Live or whatever, like they get these actual like legit opportunities to do cool stuff that doesn't really exist in Canada. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And I also think Brad and Jen are really interesting because I think both of them will immediately go into a broadcasting career. So it just depends on if they, where that stands too. I don't know. It's just going to be, it's going to be really interesting. And I think the States is interesting too, for sure. There's a lot of
the big
loose
thing
pieces
here, I think,
there.
with Schuster's team is like the past like 2 years, the wives couldn't go anywhere and have any fun with the team because of COVID. So now they're like, well, curling sucks now. So
That's what the wives think, or
Yeah.
that's what the guys think?
that's what the wives think. Now the wives are gonna be pissed because
Yes.
they gotta stay home while the guys are out having fun spieling somewhere.
The guys
And-
might think curling's the greatest thing ever
Yeah.
right now. Who
Yeah,
knows?
exactly.
Yeah, so they don't want to
These
retire.
last
The wives
2
don't
years
wanna
have been
retire, so-
incredible.
Yeah.
Just amazing.
Who knows?
I have to take my
Curling's
wife
fun
along.
again.
My kids are running around. This is great.
What do you guys think that Corey will do at third if Joe doesn't play? Like, is Luke Violette the option there?
Ooh, I don't,
Maybe. There's a
There's a
handful of.
Do you see Luke playing third?
I don't know. I mean, there's probably about, if you include Dropkin's team minus Polo,
Yeah.
excuse me, there's probably about 10, I'm going to call them kids,
You can.
10 kids, between the ages of 22 and 28 that all have potential to be really, I think, really great. But I don't know. It's weird. It's like none of them are surefire. Here's your skip. Here's your third. These two would work perfect together. Like, I
Right.
think it could be a lot of second guessing about who's going with who and where are they playing and position wise and why.
Did you see, like, Andrew going over?
Yeah, I mean, like, Andrew is he's a great player, and like he had a lot of success skipping. And I could see him going back to skipping, and I think that would be very enticing for some of the other young
Those
guys.
young kids.
I want to see Matt Hamilton and Corey Dropkin on the same team
Nope.
and just watch that.
Oh, that's
That's what I just want to watch that.
that's a dumpster fire waiting to happen, I think.
But just think of the entertainment on that, though.
Yeah. I'm not sure that's the entertainment I want to see. What about was it Hunter Clausen? He's another one of those.
Those guys are good too. The Dunham team, like they're good players.
But
you know, they're like, but they've always been on the
stick
outside.
together.
They've been on the fringe of this program stuff and the
Right.
money. And there's a couple brothers, and I think that they might be cousins with somebody else.
Wasn't Cody their cousin?
Yeah, maybe. Like there's two brothers, and one of them's a cousin, and the other one I can't remember the order of how it all works, but
It's like
maybe
the Tardy team.
if they slip into
Yeah, that's gonna be an interesting storyline to follow.
if
Think
they
so?
slip into the program, then
Yeah.
that throws another kind of wrench into what do these other kids do, and Schuster's the guy, the Schuster Richie remnants. If there are people that back out, they're the ones who are going to kind of control how much money's left in the pool for all these other teams.
True.
Because I think, Schuster, if he stays in, their team's going to have they're going to be the top of the money pile, and then everybody else is going to have to figure out what to do with the scraps.
Good point. Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? The sort of U.S. curl or USA curl sort of influence on it is a different thing we're not used to up here in Canada. So I know that's always a factor too. I only brought up Luke because I curled against him when he was like 12. So I always growing up in Seattle, I played against his dad for a super long time, and then as Luke was growing up, I always
He didn't grow up
He
very
didn't
high.
grow up
Yeah,
Well,
he was-
no,
he was
true,
just
yeah.
figures.
Yeah.
in age.
It's like one of
age.
the, this is one of the few people that looks up literally to Craig Brown.
Yeah, not many. Not many.
Sorry, buddy.
Yeah,
No, that's
it's-
fine. I'm short.
Hey, it
Always will be.
happens. Look, you can't really change it, But yeah, no, it is definitely. It's interesting to see that kind of, where they go. I can remember him being little or like being young, and it looked like he was going to turn into a really good player, and then it seems like he has. But then there's the whole U.S. politics thing, and I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. I'm intrigued certainly if John retires or not retires, but takes a year off or whatever. It's going to be interesting to see how they sort of sort through all of that, all that stuff.
Yeah, Luke's team is interesting though, because Luke is a very good player, and it's, I think that he's still young, and this is the sport, and that youth is not. His youth has come back to haunt him a few times, and
For sure.
like he admits it. Like we beat him in the qualifier to get into the trials. And he said something to the effect to me afterwards that, like, you old guys, just kind of, you managed that game in such a way that you kind of taught us a lesson, and it wasn't our shooting necessarily. And he's smart enough to realize that, and I think that maybe with the right coaching, maybe it just takes another couple years of him getting that experience. But like I think he's one of those people that has tons of potential, and all the kids on his team too are same way, and some of them are just sponges as far as trying to suck in the info. So I'm cautiously optimistic for the future of curling post.
He
Schuster.
certainly, Luke Violet certainly does know a lot of stats.
I think that's where he gets stuck. I haven't really curled against him, but he was doing commentary for, I think, some of the trials,
He was.
and it was all stats. Oh, they should do this here. They should do this here. They should do this here. And I think he maybe does a lot of that and some of that in game, and he just, instead of maybe just reading the game and seeing what you guys aren't doing well, he's like, well, we should do this, even though that might not be the call
He's not
within
feeling,
the game based
he's
on
not
the way
feeling the
you guys
flow.
are performing.
He's not doing the bull dance, working it.
I don't know. I
Working
don't know
it.
what he's not doing, but yeah. That's my guess.
All right, let's switch away from curling entirely for a second.
Okay.
I am a Twitter follower
Thank
of
God.
yours, John, and I know that you had Tony Hawk on one of your podcasts.
Yeah, I listened
I
to
want
it.
to hear about this.
You should have heard this fucker fanboy.
Oh, wow.
And I mean that in the most friendly way. It was a great
Hey, look.
episode.
No, thank you. Is night, Joel was like, yeah, don't swear on the podcast unless you have to, and then this guy's calling me a fucker to my face. But in any case, it was a very cool thing. Yeah, so I have a podcast called Blocked Party, and it's a fairly successful podcast. We've been around for it'll be almost 4 years in the fall. And I just for a long time just had this sort of ongoing joke that like Tony Hawk was my dream guest on the show. I never figured that would ever happen because we're big, but we're not like that big, where we're at a level where Tony Hawk would go, yeah, okay, I want a guest on your show. So it was just kind of a crazy sequence of events that kind of put it all into motion. I had been talking about it for a long time, and I just think he's a really cool guy. I think he's like, he might be the only like good rich guy on earth. Like he's a very very rich man. Like his net worth is like 200 million or something, and he's just a very cool guy. Like he seems like a really nice dude. He does lots of cool stuff for the community. He's always very supportive of of young skaters, of disabled skaters, all that kind of stuff. Like he just seems like a very good guy who just genuinely got rich and was like, well, I'm just going to live the best life possible. So I always wanted to have him on the show. I'm a skateboarding fan. I'm a massive fan of his video games, whatever. So
don't undersell it, John. John
Yeah.
said he's got some speedrun records on, was it Tony Hawk Pro Skater, right?
Yeah, the new one. Yeah, I got a couple top 10 times anyway.
Yeah.
So, I'm whatever. It's a weird thing to brag about because you're like kind of bragging about.
Yeah.
You're like bragging about being a loser. It's like saying you have the most Star Wars toys or whatever. It's like not an impressive thing
That's
to
cool.
brag about.
I thought it was cool when you brought it up
Okay.
on the game. Like,
All
I
right.
think that takes some stones to be like, hey, I play your video game a lot and I'm pretty good at it. I thought it was
Thank
cool.
you. I appreciate. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. So we just a listener of ours got a cameo from him. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with the website cameo.com,
Yep.
but it's like a celebrity shout out website, and just basically said like, hey, I listened to this podcast and I love it, and they want to have you as a guest. He's like, I don't know if you whatever, but just maybe you could shout them out. That would be awesome. So he records this cameo. Pardon me, and he's like, I hear you got a great podcast. I have a new podcast coming out in like a month. How about when my podcast comes out, I'll come on your podcast to cross promote it. And so I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. He does this cameo. He does thousands of cameos. He's probably just saying this to be a nice guy, whatever. So I'm like, I just put this in my back pocket. I like tuck it into my brain. And then his podcast does come out like a month after that. So I'm like, okay, I'll give him a couple months of his podcast being out, and then I'll follow up. So it's about maybe 3 months after we got the cameo. I sent an email to his management, and I was just like, hey, like Tony did this cameo for us. He said he was willing to guest on our podcast. Here's a link to the cameo. If he was joking or he doesn't want to do it, it's totally cool. But if he does, it would be great to have him on the show. And his manager emailed me back within like an hour. And she was just like, yep, Tony's down to do it. This is his personal assistant's email. Just coordinate with them and we'll make sure it happens. She was like, he won't be available for about another 3 weeks or so, but just if you don't hear from us, check back in. So 3 weeks go by, I don't hear from them. So I send the manager another email, and then she emails me back again, and she's like, yeah, he's free next Wednesday. And I was like, all right, crazy, great. So then, just sent them a Zoom link. He showed up right on time. He was a very, very nice man. He hung out a little bit after the show was over and chatted with us. And he's just a very cool guy. And it was cool, like I said about him being a cool rich guy. Like I asked him on the show, I'm like, why would you? I was like, did you think we would follow up when you said that on the cameo? Like, hey, I'll do your podcast. I was like, did you actually think that we would ever follow up, or do you just say that to people? And he was like, no, I genuinely like looked up your podcast and thought that would be like a cool, like a fun thing to do. So he's like, no, I was serious when I made the cameo. He's like, I didn't know if you'd follow up or not, but if you did, I just thought it would be fun. And I'm like, that is unreal. You're like one of the most famous people in North America on earth, really. And you were just like, yeah, that'd be a fun way to spend an hour and a half with two guys I've never met before.
Sure.
So, yeah.
What I love like seeing his tweets when he says, "Oh, somebody at the coffee shop said you look a lot like Tony Hawk today," and he said, "Yeah, I get that a lot." Things like that. Like he just seems like the kind of guy who's just friendly, and I don't know. I've never seen anything cast him in a negative light.
I agree.
So pretty much the opposite of Jason Calacanis is what you're saying.
Yeah, I guess so. He donates to the podcast now, so I don't know I don't know if he's on a fact-finding mission or what's going on, but yeah, that was weird. But anyway, yeah, Jason, what a guy. I'm still waiting for him to invest. So
there you go. Yeah.
So how many listeners show up to this Blocked Party podcast on a regular basis?
Oh,
Or
really? You're gonna
get that secret
Well,
information.
if that's something that you can say, I don't know the etiquette here.
No, that's fine. We do about 10,000 downloads an episode.
Nice.
That's good.
Somewhere in that.
Pretty good.
Somewhere
That
in
sounds
that realm.
fantastic. If it's
that's-
not, and I shouldn't have asked that question, I apologize.
No. It's totally fine. Yeah, no, it's been pretty good. We've done 160 episodes, and I think we're at like 1.65 million downloads lifetime, something like that.
Nice.
Wow.
I once asked a farmer how many acres they had, and the farmer looked at me for a second and said, "You never ask a farmer that." And
Really?
And I said, I was like, "What?" And they're like, "Well, that's basically like saying what you're asking what your net worth is." And then he said, "But you're a city boy, so I'll tell you." And then he's like, "I got 1,200 acres." Like, oh, okay.
Oh, that makes sense. It's like a math problem for farmers,
Yeah,
right? They
and
go,
it's
if you
not
have
even a
this many
math problem.
acres.
Like it's just
it's
so
a dick
ingrained in
measuring-
them that they just know.
It's a dick measuring contest between.
They know
country
exactly
boys, I guess.
what every 100 acres should
Right.
be worth.
And then probably depending on what your farm
I was
is,
just gonna
Yeah.
say, depending upon what your
Yeah.
crop. Well, what are you doing this year?
Well,
it's
these are-
soybeans or beets.
yeah,
or
these
what
are
all
North
beet
Dakota
farmers.
guys, so
Yeah,
they're all
all
either
beet farmers.
potatoes or beets or beans or what. They all know like the going rate of every crop at
Yeah.
every second. So
Got it.
unless you're a city boy, you should never ask that question
Don't
to a
ask
farmer.
that.
Got
That's
it.
a farmer.
Okay.
Man, I learned something new today.
Yeah.
That's pretty great. Yeah. I haven't listened to all your podcasts yet, but you've had some good
What?
guests on. No, I just started
on.
a couple weeks ago.
Who's your favorite guest
I'm
that you've ever
joking.
had, other than Tony Hawk?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. We've had a lot of, as Mike said, we've been pretty blessed. We've had a lot of like really cool people on the show. My favorite guest is honestly like, we just have a couple like comedians from Canada that I'm friends with that are really great guests on the show. Chris Locke is one of them. Adam Christie, a good friend of mine from Vancouver, actually, Chris James, pardon me, is one of our favorites. So yeah, it tends to be sometimes people you have a little bit more familiarity with, you kind of can have maybe a bit of a better vibe. We've been really lucky though. Like we've had some pretty like big name guests on the show, and almost all of them have been very like sweet to us. And I shouldn't say they've all been really sweet to us, but like the only one that like really we had Jamel Hill on the show. I don't know if you guys are familiar with her, but she's
Former
used to report for
ESPN.
ESPN reporter, yeah. And
Reporter,
she's,
yeah.
she has like 1.5 million Twitter followers or whatever.
Mhm.
And so how it happens often with our show is someone will tweet about, so our show is about being blocked online. So whether you get blocked on Twitter or Instagram or whatever, you come on the show and you talk about it. So she had been tweeting about how she got blocked by Travis Tritt. And then someone replied to her and was like, you should go on Blocked Party. And this is what happened. Like, if you look through our episodes and you're like, oh, I wonder how they got that sort of famous guest on the show or whatever, that's usually how it happens. And she was just immediately like, yeah, sure, I'll go on it. And I was like, what the fuck? Okay, sorry, what the hell? So
okay, you
I
guys-
just
no,
like,
that's-
Absolutely.
that fit perfectly there.
Yeah.
okay, good. And so yeah, so then we just like started DMing, and she was like, yeah, send me an email, let's set it up or whatever. And she seemed very enthusiastic. She responded right away. She was really into it, like whatever. And then when we did the show, it was clear that like she sort of realized like, oh, I shouldn't have said yes to this. I don't really want to do this. You know what I mean? Like, and don't get me wrong. She was a good guest on the show and she was very nice to us. Like, it was not, it was not anything, like, she wasn't rude in any way, but it was just like funny that, she logged on to the podcast Zoom meeting, like, on her phone. So she just like did the whole podcast like on FaceTime or whatever. And I was sort of like, oh, like, does she not have like podcasting equipment or tech, And then I like looked, and then like the next day on Twitter, she posted a clip from her own podcast, and she has like a full mic and headphone like set up in her house. And so she just like didn't use that to come on our show. And like, when we said bye to the guests, or sorry, to the listeners at the end, like, usually we'll be like, okay, we'll see you back here next week. Goodbye. Usually the guest will stick around and just be like, oh, thanks so much, whatever. And I was like, okay, we'll see you back here next week. Bye. She immediately hung up. She's like, I am not spending another second with these low lives.
That's enough. That's enough.
Yeah. So yeah,
That's
again,
awesome.
that was the only one that really sticks out. Like, we've been really lucky. Otherwise, like, most of the people we've had on the show that would be sort of, quote unquote famous or whatever, have, they've all been really nice. And yeah, Tony Hawk among those as well.
Tony Hawk's block story is great too.
Who did he get blocked by?
He was doing the skateboard coverage at the Olympics, and he was only doing like one of the events. I don't remember. Maybe John remembers what event it was, but
yeah, he was doing the park. He was there for the park competition. Yeah.
Yeah, but then later, like, he got done. That was one of the first events of the Olympics, and then he's like, well, I'll stick around and hang around. And then he was like, basically he just kind of showed up to another one of the events and started like skating around in the park. And then he pops his cell phone on and he's like, puts his Instagram live on and is like videotaping live action at the Olympics, and probably had more viewers on his Instagram like watching this live Olympics coverage, because it was blocked in
And you probably can't.
wherever in Tokyo they couldn't watch it, or there were certain countries that weren't carrying the Olympics, but they're watching the Olympics on Tony Hawk's Instagram feed. And he said shortly after that, I don't know, it was up a while, I think he said, and then they finally just shut it down.
Yeah, so what it was, actually, I got it wrong. So he was there for the street competition, which was first, and then he flew home, and then NBC was like, do you want to go back for the park competition and help us cover the Olympics? And he was just, because he was there for street as like a coach kind of thing. Like, he was just sort of there with the American team. So he wasn't doing any television stuff. And then NBC was like, do you want to go back and do some commentary for the park? And he was like, no, I don't want to fly back to Tokyo. He's like, I would have stayed the whole time if they asked me, but no, they wouldn't let me. So he's like, no, I didn't want to go through. He's like, you had to do all the COVID protocol, and getting in and out of there was a disaster. He's like, I'm not going back. But then it like sparked in his brain. He's like, maybe people would want to hear me do commentary. So he had set up his TV, and he was filming his TV on his Instagram, but then doing commentary on his Instagram, being like, oh, that's a good trick. That's a whatever. And he said it wasn't even Instagram that shut him down at first. NBC like emailed him, and they're like, what are you doing? Like, you can't just like film your TV. And he's like, oh shit. Yeah. And then the actual Olympics, he was filming on the street course. And this is, I think, what Mike was talking about. They were doing practice on the street course, and they hadn't really shown you could see the park course there as well. And I think the skaters maybe hadn't been briefed on the layout of the park course yet. So he was almost like showing like state secrets or something like that. So they like came onto the park, and they're like, you just can't film the skate park. This is the Olympics. Like, you can't.
And and from what you said, he's too nice to be like, you know who I am, right?
Yeah, I'm Tony Hawk. If I want to put this video on my Instagram, I will. Like, shut up. Skateboarding wouldn't be in the Olympics without me.
Probably not.
Definitely not.
The times that we've worked with TV, they get pretty serious. They don't care who the hell you are.
Yeah, no, they don't. No, so it's good. Is there anybody you want to like? If you could, do you have a guest that you?
Who's the next dream guest?
Who's the next dream guest?
Because I always say, I felt like I sort of spoke Tony into existence, and so I always say that I'm speaking other guests into existence. So our two dream guests for this year are Seth Rogen and Phoebe Bridgers. And I think we'll get both of them. Honestly, I actually think there's a good chance we could get both of them. So we have a plan
I'm sure
for
Seth has been blocked or has blocked lots of people.
Oh,
people.
So many. Well, so we're sort of lucky in that Ike Barinholtz is actually like a listener and fan of our show, and he's been also a guest on our show, and he's very good friends with Seth. Nice. So we sort of have a plan to like maybe get Seth on the show. And then Phoebe, we were actually very close. I had emailed her management, and it was like right around when her last album was coming out. And I was like, oh, I know she's doing a lot of press, and it was in COVID, so she wasn't touring or doing anything like that. So I sent her publicist a message, and she was like, yeah, she's just busy, but she could probably do it in like a couple months, like email me back in the fall. And then the day I emailed her publicist to check back in, 2 hours later, she got nominated for like 5 Grammys or whatever. And then I was like, oh man, I don't think she's going to be doing Block Party on this press tour. I never do this, but I literally emailed her publicist back, and I was like 2 hours after I emailed her, I was like, oh, I saw she got nominated for 5 Grammys this morning. I'll check back in next year. I get it. I understand.
I understand.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So
we'll see what happens. But yeah, those are my two. And you know what? Maybe Matt Hamilton will come on. We'll see. I don't know.
I don't know who blocks Matt.
I'm joking. I mean, I would have Matt on, but I mean, I have Matt's phone number. I mean, I'm sure he would.
You could block him just to have him on.
Yeah.
This dick John just blocked me for no reason.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'll do it. I mean, I'll do it.
It's fair. Yeah, although when Matt was here, we got bacon.
We did.
Yeah.
How come there's no bacon tonight, Joel?
We don't have a snack tonight. I'm a little disappointed.
I'm out.
We had Yama from Japan on the last show, and we had Japanese whiskey, and then before that we had bacon because Matt was here.
Matt was the fill-in when you got
Yes, I had to cancel. I'm
what'd you
very
get called
sorry.
in to do? BC commentating?
BC Provincials.
Got
it.
Yeah.
Scotty's Provincials, right?
Yeah. And men's. They did them combined.
Oh, did they do them combined? Got it. I didn't.
Yeah, that was a very that was a real weird one. So I was supposed to only be doing the playoffs, and then they my commentary partner tested positive for COVID, so then she couldn't come. So couldn't come to provincial. So she was like, okay, we're gonna do this remotely. So it'll be on the weekend still, but you're not gonna have to fly to Kamloops or whatever. I was like, okay, fine. And then they decided that they weren't going to be able to have any fans there. So then they were like, okay, we're going to stream every draw. Can you do like every draw? And they told me this on Monday, and provincial started on Tuesday. And so I was lucky that it just happened that the schools in BC got shut down for an extra week after Christmas break, which was because I'm a teacher. So that was my that whole first week ended up getting shut down anyway. So I was like, I actually am free this whole time. But then it meant that I had to cancel my appearance on the show. And I felt very bad because Joel was so organized and on top of it and had everything ready to go. And so I felt really bad, but I'm glad we were able to
no need to feel bad.
No need to feel bad at all. I watched the final and I heard you chit-chatting about how some of your former teammates, and actually I didn't watch the whole final. I watched the last 3-4 ends because I wanted to see how this shook out. But what's the thought on Pierce coming back from the dead and winning? Did everybody think that he was just playing gone, or has he been playing still the last several years?
Yeah. I mean, Brent's one of those guys, right? I mean, Craig, I'm sure you've played against him, a fair number of times.
I hate that guy. He beat me in the semifinals at the World Championship by shooting about 125%. And
there you go.
Once a year, I swear at him for it. So.
Okay, so yeah, so I don't need to tell you.
World men's bastard. Yeah.
They.
2000 in Glasgow when he won with Greg McCauley.
Greg McCauley, yeah, that's right. Were you skipping, Craig?
I was skipping. We had him on the ropes the first end, and then Brent like I said, shot about 125% after that. And we didn't have a chance.
Yeah, he'll do that. Yeah, he's one of those guys. He's been around. Like he just can't quit. He'll never quit curling, right? Like it's like in his blood. He's like, we're talking about these guys maybe retiring or whatever. Brent will be curling until the day he dies. So he's always around, but he's one of those guys. He's not the easiest guy to play with. So, when you're in BC, which is not a huge curling province, at some point you kind of cycle through everybody that you could potentially play with. And so I think for Brent, the last sort of 5 years or so, he's been kind of off and on teams as there's sort of been fits for him or not. And he's also a senior age curler now. So he's been debating about getting involved there and all that. So I think it was just a case of that team had Sean Giel skipping, and then, Sean told them pretty late that he was actually not going to play with them. So that's Jeff Richard, Jared Colomea, and Nick Meister, the other three. They had been playing with Sean for the last couple of years. So Sean told them, I want to say it was September, late September, that he wasn't going to play with them. So they needed an option. Jeff and Brent had played together a few times before. So Jeff gave Brent a call. They had only played in one spiel before provincials. Brent played out of his mind, especially in the final. The draw he made in 9 was one of the craziest draws I've ever seen. It was phenomenal.
That was actually why I turned on the game to watch the end of it, because I knew that I heard that he made a fantastic draw. So I turned it on in 7 or 8 and watched the rest of the game.
Is it on YouTube?
To see it.
It's on YouTube, yeah. So the draw in question is in 9. So what it happens is, so Craig will know this, but so Brent, I'm friend. I like Brent. I'm friends with Brent. I played with him back in 2011. He's a good guy. We actually just talked on the phone for about half an hour the other day. We hadn't really talked since provincials ended, so he gave me a call and we chatted and everything. But he's an intense guy, and he can be a bit of a hothead on the ice sometimes. And so things were starting to not go their way. And Brent just wasn't really engaging with the game anymore. And so we were kind of noticing this on commentary. We didn't really say it on air, but you just kind of notice when you're watching the game, you're like, especially when you've played with Brent and against Brent forever, you start to go, okay, he's losing it a little bit. He's kicking rocks and he shuts down. He stops communicating. So the 8th end, they had a really bad 8th end. Cheka got back in the game. I believe they took the lead. They took the lead. So Cheka had a big steal in 8 to take the lead. So they're up by 1, playing 9. And Brent is just not saying a word. He's pointing for the shot, putting his broom down. He's not saying anything to his team, whatever. And the 9th end, they're getting killed. Cheka's getting their rocks in all the right spots. It's looking like the game's over. It's Brent is mentally checked out. Cheka's going to win this game. It's all said and done. And then Brent's first one, he makes a decent shot to get his rock in for shot rock. I can't remember exactly what the shot was, but he's in there for shot. Jeff Richard makes a good shot to be shot 1 on his first. Brent tries a come around on the out turn side, which was a much easier side, to get another rock in there, and he throws it through the house. And he stays down at the home end of the rink. So he doesn't even go back to the house. Doesn't talk to Jeff, nothing. He's I threw it through the house, and I'm just okay, well, this is really over now. So Paul decides to guard that draw path again. So now Brent has to take the in-turn draw, which no one has played the whole end, and he's got to hit a sliver of the button, coming around 3 rocks, 2 of which are in the 4-foot. He's got to come around and literally he had to draw it to a dime basically. And he does this without talking to Jeff, without even going down to look at where the broom gets put down in the house, doesn't talk to his sweepers, nothing. He's literally it's crazy. You're on commentary. You're this is a huge shot for 2 points. And Paul's thinking he's got it made, right? He's well, Brent's clearly going to take 1. We're going to have the hammer coming home tied up. Happy birthday to us. And then, Brent, Paul's rock comes to rest as a guard, and Brent's already in the hack to throw this draw. And in the 9th end of a provincial final. And then, he comes out, throws it, drops the rock on that dime. They get 2. Paul can only manage 1 in the 10th, and then Brent wins in the extra. And you're just what just happened? It was insane.
It's
definitely worth going to watch.
I sent him a message a couple days after when I watched that, and I said something to the effect of, "Holy shit, what a draw!" And he's like, "Oh, you made it." He's just being nice, and he's like, "Oh, you made a few of those in your time." I said, "I don't think I ever made one to that small of a spot." I mean, like, it seriously. He had like this much.
I'm definitely gonna go. I'm
Like,
definitely gonna go watch it.
if he,
100%.
Is that the curling zone on YouTube? BC.
It's Curl BC. It's Curl BC has their own YouTube channel. So you just go there,
Curl
you just
BC.
search BC men's final, you'll see it. And yeah, so I would recommend starting watching in the 8th. So you can start.
Okay.
So you can start to see his mental breakdown, and then it'll really like set up the 9th end for you. Because the 8th end is like his team misses like 6 shots, and Brett has to make a really good shot.
I'm a degenerate, but
okay, well that's fair. It's a good game. I mean, it's a really good game. Yeah.
Looks like youtube.com/curlbctv.
all right, I'm there.
There you go.
I'll probably
I'll
probably watch the Sarah Work game too because I like Sarah Work.
She's
Marianne
nice.
Arsenault is, well, not tearing it up at the Scotties, but
she's
still an ageless wonder. I mean,
she looked good at the
Scotties yet.
BC Scotties. Yeah.
What's up?
Yeah, she looked good at the BC Scotties, but yeah, they're struggling this week for sure.
I think they're
yeah.
2-3 is what I saw this afternoon.
They're 1-5. They lost tonight to Ontario.
Yeah, what
so
do I know?
they're now
You don't
1-5,
know
and I'm just checking in now. I had Laurie St. George to beat Carrie Galusha betting. I bet on Quebec, and Carrie got 3 in the 10th to win.
Oh no!
So thanks a lot.
She was the darling of the
Laurie.
last Scotties for sure. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Merci, as they say in Quebec. For costing me $10 whole. Laurie.
$10.
Whoa.
That's $7.95 US for those of
That's
you
right.
looking to do the conversion. I just
right.
checked the rate today.
What site do you use to bet? Or like
just on Cool Bets, and I'm like not doing great. Like this is the first time I typically never bet on sports because I don't think I'm good at it, and I'm also just like I just know that it would be a problem for me. But I just thought, like, a lot of people bet on the curling, and I was like, oh, this will be fun. Just kind of bet on the curling a little bit. So this is the first time I've ever really done any sort of prolonged betting, and like the Scotties is just betting on the Scotties is just really stupid behavior because it's just. Women's curling is so unpredictable, and Matt Hall, I don't know if you know, a former world junior champion, but he's the odds maker for Cool Bet. So I don't know if any of you guys remember, but there was a time.
Wait, hold on, time out, because I follow Matt Hall on Twitter, and I'm pretty sure. I think he said he bet on somebody the other night to he bet on. No, he can't. I would imagine
he would have been talking about making the odds, maybe, because we were having a discussion. Because I tweeted last night about how I can't bet on the Scotties, or I can't bet on curling because the curlers will make a call, and I'm like, don't do that. This is the wrong. I can't handle it. It's like at least hockey or football. It's like out of my control. Whatever happens, I mean, whatever. But the curling, I know enough about the game where I'm like, no, why? Don't make that call. What are you doing? This is my money.
Plus, you probably know the people too.
Yeah.
Well,
of course.
So.
I think it was somebody bet on Nunavut to upset Northern Ontario, and
correct.
That game came down to I think Krista had
a little controversy or something.
Yeah.
So that's what it was. So Matt tweeted about how all the people who bet on and Nunavut was plus 2,000 to win that game. So they're 200 to 1 to win the game. And so I had a buddy who had bet $10 on Nunavut, so he was ready to make a lot of money on that game.
Yeah.
And, didn't go great for us.
Somebody bid it in the house, and they pulled a bunch of stones and ended up
correct. That was the big thing, because it was like Nunavut probably would have won if that didn't happen. Yeah. So
unfortunately, Sportsbook is not available.
Cool Bets, I think, is geo-blocked in the United States.
Geo-blocked in the U.S.
So we'll have to find our curling betting somewhere else.
Canada.
You can become a bookie. You can make your own lines and start taking bets.
All right.
There you go.
There you
Yeah,
go.
you guys should start doing it like
I
the
know some
curling
Italian
nation.
guys.
As long as
If we.
as long as the house doesn't take a rake, it's legal, right?
Yeah, whatever. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't care if it's illegal. Come and get me.
Come get me. Come at me, son. All right. So
Yeah.
do you live in Vancouver?
I'm in Vancouver, yeah.
And are you from Vancouver or are you from somewhere else?
I am from Toronto.
From Toronto. So
yeah.
that explains the Maple Leaf obsession.
Yes, huge Maple Leafs fan. Yeah, I was born in Southern Ontario. I grew up in the suburbs,
Which one?
and I grew up in Newmarket,
Okay.
where Connor McDavid is from. If you need a point of reference, but yeah, it's about an hour north of Toronto. And then family moved here when I was 13, so I've been here ever since. I grew up in a suburb of Vancouver, White Rock, which is like right on the border of Canada, BC, and Washington. And yeah, I've been here, and then I moved to Vancouver proper, I guess, almost 10 years ago now. So
Okay.
yeah, it's been a while.
All right. I think that we could probably have you on about 3 different times to cover all the different stuff that
We'll have you on again.
that we could talk about.
So we'll
I
have
do
you-
a lot
So-
I do a lot of shit. That's true. Yeah.
That's fine. That's
So
fine. But
let's
before we land this plane,
hold
John-
on. You shut up for a second.
No, he'll get
Let's
that.
talk
He'll get that.
about. Okay, he's got.
He's
some,
he's
there's-
quoting my own comedy album.
Yeah.
Jenny.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I
a line
didn't-
that he hated but left in the comedy album.
Yeah.
Let's land this plane. What-
Yeah, John has 2 comedy albums.
John
on-
has-
I
on
knew that he
Spotify.
had some comedy albums.
They're pretty
and,
good.
And he was talking.
you.
One bit he did at the
I enjoyed
beginning of the album was about Canadian pilots, and they come on, they talk like hockey players. And then he got to the end of the album, and he's doing this, obviously taping it in a live club, and he's like, "All right, before we land this plane," and he basically stopped his album. He's like, "I fucking hate this. I'm fucking gonna take it out." And he got mad at himself on stage.
I just thought it was a really lame thing to say.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, this is really stupid. We're gonna cut that out." But it wound up.
It's
on
just
the
one of
album,
those-
So.
It's because it's like one of those things where when you do stand up, it's very much like muscle memory. It's like I've done all these jokes so many times. It's like you're kind of almost having like an out of body experience when you're on stage. It's not that it's to say that it's like rehearsed to the T. I'm not like that kind of comedian, but like, you know, I have a pretty good idea of 99% of the words I'm going to say from the time I get on stage to when I leave 45 minutes later. So that was like a genuine reaction where I was like, I've never said this on stage. I don't know why it came out of my mouth. I just like went over to take a sip of water in between jokes. And I was like, all right, let's land this plane. And then I was just like, that is the lame. Why did you even, you don't say that. You don't even say that in life. I don't say that in life when I'm wrapping things up. They were like, let's land this plane. Like, it was just very weird.
I just wanted him to know
then-
I did my homework.
You
I
did do
my
your
homework.
did.
homework. I'm glad.
You did very much so. It's appreciated.
All right. So first of all, you have to promise that you'll come back so we can talk about other things.
Anytime. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now I think we need to
questions.
quickly discuss who's going to win Olympic medals in mixed doubles, men's and women's.
I was just talking about this today, actually, because a
'Cause
friend of mine was asking.
We
It's
gave
tricky.
our picks last episode.
Yeah.
Okay, well, okay, I guess I'll go and then you guys can tell me. I think
Yeah.
this is what I wrote down today. It changes all the time. It's very hard to know, because no one would have thought that John would win, and then look what happened,
Exactly.
So here
I don't
we
think
go.
John thought he was going to win.
He certainly didn't, especially
No.
when he started whatever it was,
2 and 4.
2 and 4.
2 and 4. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so here's what I wrote down. These are my thoughts today. Who knows? This might change. Men, I have Sweden winning gold.
Okay.
Great Britain winning silver, Canada winning bronze. Ladies,
You might have
Canada
gotten
winning.
thrown out of the country right there if you would have not had Gushu winning a medal. That was for men's, right?
That's for men's.
Yeah. You might have gotten thrown out of the country.
Ladies,
Okay.
Canada winning gold, Switzerland winning silver, Sweden winning bronze. But I did tell my friend that I actually think Tab has a shot. I think Tab has a shot at the podium. Just my personal opinion. I could see her maybe winning bronze.
Okay.
That's my dark horse for the
That's
ladies.
fine. All right.
Mixed doubles, Canada winning gold, Sweden winning silver, U.S. winning bronze. Those are my
Okay.
picks.
I like it. I like it.
Was that sort of in line with you guys, or was anything seem
I had
crazy
Schuster
there?
winning by like 70. So
Yeah. Joel went real super fans on the show last week, and it was
That's good. Nothing wrong with
The
that.
Bears by 100, I
the
think.
Bears by 100.
I don't even remember. Did I answer that question?
I
think we did.
I don't know between you or I if we.
I don't think you did because you talked about how
We talked about there's like 6 teams that could
Yeah.
find the podium.
I was
and
skiing.
it's-
I was out of town.
No, I think you and I are all over the map because.
All right, I'm changing it. I'm gonna pick some definitive
Go, then
ones.
do it.
I am
You go first.
adamantly gonna disagree with John's Sweden pick for men, and I don't even think they're gonna make the semis. I think they're gonna miss the top 4.
Wow.
I got Gushu Scotland final, U.S. Switzerland's bronze medal game,
Okay. I mean, I think that's totally possible and realistic for sure.
and
I think Mowat is the best team in the field. I saw them play this year. I mean, they're dialed. Like, I think they're the best team, but I just think Nicholas is going to find a way to do it. I think this is his last real good chance at it. His body's going to give out on him soon. I think this is his last real chance, and I just feel like he's going to do it.
Okay, women. I think Jones is going to miss the playoffs. I'm going Jones missing playoffs. So both of your gold medalists, I think, are missing playoffs.
I think there's no way Jones misses the playoffs. Come
Jones,
on. She's a
I gotta
big
tell you,
game
as
player, man.
Like, she is the greatest female curler of all time.
Easily,
I think,
easily.
and
not even deniable. I don't. think.
But I think that her team isn't as good against the field as it used to be. You know, Caitlin's fantastic, but like these other countries, they've got fantastic thirds and they've got fantastic front ends that I think wasn't always the case in the past. And so I think that Jones, you know, they've had just enough of these events where they've been not good in the last few years. And so that's the only reason I'm saying it. And so I think Switzerland, you know, they're a little up and down too, but when they're up, they're really good. Sweden is the best team, I think. So I think that's your final. Probably. And then I'm going to go with the U.S., and you can flip a coin between Japan and Korea, who the other one in the playoffs is.
Yeah,
That's
I
what
like
I'm going
Japan
for.
too. I think Japan's sneaky.
Mixed doubles, no clue. It's
too wide open. That
just
game
draw
can turn-
stick your hand in a hat and pull out 3 names, and that's your medalists, I think. I mean, with the exception of about 2 teams that I won't name because I don't want to alienate our viewer from that country, or our listener from that country.
yeah.
I mean, we only have like 6 viewers from any country, but I don't want to alienate.
But there's a lot of countries out there. So.
There's a lot of countries out there.
Yeah, I'll go.
So-
Let's see.
That could be anybody.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think it's going to be Mowat, Gushu for gold and silver. You could flip a coin on those two. And then I think it's going to be a rematch of the gold medal game for the bronze. I think Adin's going to get in, but he's going to be in playing for bronze against Johnny and the boys. Okay, women's. I'm going to go Switzerland and Japan in the gold medal game.
Ooh.
I mean, Fujisawa's been there the last 2 Olympics. She won bronze and then silver the last 2 Olympics. So she's going to upgrade. Well, she's going to be there. She's going to give herself a chance. And then it's going to be the border battle. It's going to be JJ and Tabs for the bronze.
Okay.
I like
All
it.
right. We've got some questions that we ask everybody, and
Yeah, let's do it.
I always forget what they are, so
That's okay.
I'll let somebody else go.
Is
Start
this
asking.
Joel? I know you you sent these to me. Is this like a rapid fire thing? You want me to answer them as short as
We
possible,
can.
or
No.
It's up to you. You
You're
can
Okay.
a comedian.
No, it's
if
up
you
to you
want to
guys.
riff because you got a good story,
Yeah.
then you do that.
You can do
it's
story time if you
your
want, or-
job.
Yeah.
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 all right? Yeah,
We're having
sounds good.
fun.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm having a great time. Yeah.
How did you start curling, John?
I started curling because of elementary school. So I don't have like a typical Canadian curling story. You know, most people get into it because of their parents or someone in their family. My family hates curling actively. Well, I shouldn't say that. My mom actually started curling like 5 years ago, so she loves it. But my dad
Nice.
hates it. He'll tell me all the time how much he dislikes curling. They used to show up when I would be in like big games. They would show up in like the sixth end. Like they'd watch the last like three ends just to be like, yeah,
Your
whatever,
dad
we
would just
were
sit in the
We were-
last row.
we were
like
there,
this,
John.
Like he wasn't happy
Yeah,
to
we
be there,
were
but
there.
he'd be there to support his son.
We were there.
You did well.
Exactly. I grew up playing hockey. You know, I was like a big hockey kid, and you know, my dad was really into that, and so I think there was always a little piece of him that was a bit disappointed that I
That
started
died
playing
as soon
curling.
as you walked out of the curling ice. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So, yeah. So I mean, you guys get it. But my my first curling experience was in elementary school, and it was crazy. I've never heard of any other school that does this, but we had this program when I was growing up in my elementary school called electives, and it was 4 Fridays out of the year, pardon me, where a teacher would have to come up with an activity to do that was either a half-day activity or a full-day activity. So, you know, if a teacher was like a good tennis player, they might take a group of kids to go play tennis. Or if they were a good sewer, you might get to make a stuffed animal. Or there was like all these different varied things. And they would basically give you this handout and they would say, okay, so on, you know, Friday, February 4th, what do you want to do for the morning? What do you want to do for the afternoon? Some of the programs had a cost, some of them didn't, whatever. And we got 4 Fridays out of the year where we got to do that. I've never heard of any other school doing it. It was awesome. I loved it. And so, yeah, so one of the teachers at my school was a curler. So the activity that they had chose was curling. So some of the activities you had to go twice. So 2 of the 4 Fridays in the afternoon, we went curling at the York Curling Club in just outside of Newmarket. And yeah, I really loved it. And I told my parents, because I always liked it on TV. I would watch it on TV and I'd be like, oh, this is intriguing, you know. And then I told my parents I really liked it, and curling was $50 for the year, and it was on Sundays, so it didn't conflict with hockey. So my parents were like, yeah, sure, you can curl if you want. So I curled.
Nice.
I curled and played hockey for 1 year in Ontario. Then we moved to BC. I quit hockey my first year in BC. I didn't like it out here. Long story. And I just got super into curling, and that's the rest is history, as they say.
You could have tried to start a fight on the curling ice to earn your dad's love for hockey.
I should have. You're right.
Yeah.
He
Missed
probably would have
opportunity.
loved me more if I
Yeah.
did that.
Yeah. Probably.
That's gonna be we're gonna dive into his father issues on the next episode.
Yeah, that's what you guys actually you're gonna have to have me back in 2 weeks. Like I really need to work through this much quicker than when you would normally
maybe we'll
have a
talk to you
guest
tomorrow.
back.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is a special double
This
episode.
seems pretty important, John.
Totally.
All right. Other than your home club, what's your other favorite club to play at?
I guess what did you consider your home club, and then
Home club, Peace Arch Curling Club, White Rock, BC. Certainly, that's my home curling club always.
nice.
Favorite curling club to curl in. Other than that, I just always really loved like an old school feeling curling club. Like when it just felt like when it feels like a building that's very lived in. I always really like that. So I don't know if I'm trying to think of like a good example of that off the top of my head. Like I think, yeah, the Granite is really nice. Yeah, actually, that's a great example. The Granite Curling Club in Seattle, loved playing there. Ice was always whatever, but yeah, the club itself, it's exactly the feel I'm talking about. Just feels like a lived-in building. Alberta's really good at that too. There's, I played a few times in Lethbridge and Edmonton, and there's a few clubs that are just, really great.
Red Deer? Is it Red Deer, the one with the mural on the wall?
No, I don't think that's Red Deer. Red Deer's like a very commercial curling club. It's in like it's right beside a hockey rink, and it's got 12 sheets. And it's
my bad.
I was just gonna ask if that was the place with like 16 sheets, but 12 is enough. 12 feels like 16.
12 feels like a shitload. Yeah. So I always loved those, and any curling club like that where it just felt like you were at home. I always really enjoyed that. Marpole Curling Club actually in Vancouver is one that's very similar to that.
How many clubs are there in like Greater Vancouver area?
Oh, lots. Some have shut down in the last like 10 years, but still lots. Like basically any suburb of Vancouver pretty much has one. So like you've got there's one on the North Shore, then you've got Vancouver Curling Club at Marpole Curling Club and the Arbutus Club here in Vancouver, although the Arbutus Club is private. Then you've got Royal City in New West. You've got Port Moody as a curling club. You've got like Abbotsford, Chilliwack, Hope, Peace Arch, Cloverdale. Like, I mean, it's 15, 20, something like that. Yeah, like, yeah.
Robust.
Yeah.
Robust
it is. It's robust. Yeah, it's a lot. I will tell you a funny story though, very quickly. Vancouver Curling Club. So Vancouver Curling Club used to have, that's why I thought of it, used to have that very homey feel. And it was actually, the sheets were way shorter than regulation curling sheets. It was a very strange club. And extremely insane. The bar upstairs, the way that the roof was set was that the roof was so low that through the windows were not like the big plate glass windows you're used to seeing in a curling club like bar upstairs. They were these smaller windows and you could only see to the far end. You couldn't see the near end. So they put mirrors on the roof. So you could see, so you'd be watching the near end in the mirrors above the sheet.
Above the home end.
It was nice. In the whole of the home end. It was wild. And so that club needed to go. So that was one of the legacy venues of the Vancouver 2010 Olympics was they turned the curling venue into an actual venue. But when the 2010 Olympics were on, the curling venue kind of had a temporary feel. It was like a bit of, it was almost like a tent in a way. It was like a weird venue. And I remember... So John Morris obviously played out of BC for a few years. So the first year he played out of BC, I want to say was 2013. And the provincials were at Vancouver Curling Club. And he walks in and, Craig, John, like you guys probably know John. Like he just, great guy, but very confident guy. And he's just very John. Walks into the Vancouver Curling Club. First thing he says, wow, this looks a lot different than the Olympics. With like 20 people all kind of standing around like, does it look different than when you won a gold medal here 3 years ago, John? Cool, man.
Nice. All right. What is your favorite Bonspiel and why? Or Bonspiels if you have multiple.
Yeah. The West Coast Classic is always going to have a place in my heart. Craig, I would assume you played in that.
I played in that a couple times. I think that I set a record for number of pitchers of beer drank at the bar one Sunday afternoon. We lost the 8 a.m. Sunday morning game and had nothing to do all day, so we never left. And
that sounds great. Perfect.
There was football on TV. We had about
that story checks out.
So we sat there so long that the bartender actually gave us a couple of free pitchers, and that's a feat in Canada because pitchers are expensive.
Are they?
Compared to here? Yeah.
Like at a curling club,
triple,
$15-16
price as they were down here at the time. But,
wow. All right.
A lot of beer.
All right.
Yeah, it is a lot of beer. So it's very funny.
Classic.
Yeah, West Coast Classic. Just because, so when I was growing up, that was like the showcase spiel. You talk about Brent Pierce; he had a hand in running that. Is at Royal City Curling Club in New West. Pardon me. It's just like all the top curling teams from around Canada and the U.S. and the world eventually came to it, and so it was just like one of those things you always really. you looked up to it when you were a kid. It was just this like, we'd go and watch, and you'd see at the time, Greg McCauley and Kevin Martin and, the big names of Furby and Stoughton and Gushu in his young career and all that, that's actually the only I played that super weirdo lineup of Randy Furby, Brad Gushu, Mark Nichols, and Ryan Fry in the West Coast Classic one year. Remember when they were a team for half a season?
I don't remember that, but that's
it was. I don't even think they made it to provincials, if I remember right. But yeah, it was a weird. Ryan Fry was lead. And then Mark Nichols was second, Furby was third and held the broom, and Brad threw last. But yeah, so we lost to them. But yeah, it was just like one of those things. It was like this.
Second
it was like
place.
This goal. Yeah, it was this goal you always had growing up, and I remember like getting to play in it for the first time and get to really like be around and feel a part of the curling community, and playing against some of my idols was like a really big deal. So so that spiel, it's RIP. It hasn't been running for quite some time, but that one will always hold a special place in my heart for sure.
Cool.
It was a big ass spiel.
In its heyday, it was like 32 teams. Top check would have been 25 probably. Like it was a slam before there were slams, kind of.
Yeah. Nice. Other than money, what's the coolest or weirdest thing that you've ever won curling?
Ooh, I have an amazing answer for this. You guys ready?
Yes.
Yeah.
In a junior spiel, I won a pager.
That is a great answer.
Yep.
That's a great answer.
I won a pager.
What year was
That's
this?
so great.
99 or 2000.
Yeah.
It would have been 2000. It would have been 2000, and it was it was right around when Hot Shots was like becoming a thing. Where it was starting to be in the Briar and the Scotties, and they would do it for like so in the middle of this like junior bond spiel, they had a Hot Shots for all the players, and the two players, the male and female player that won the Hot Shots, won a pager and a year of service. And it was really funny because I remember it being like it was like to win, like guys, like people wanted to win this so bad. Like you have no idea how big of a deal this was.
Oh no, I do.
Like,
I think I do.
Where you're just like, yeah, okay, yeah, exactly. Like you guys are all around my age. Well, Joel and Mike, you're around my age, and so it's like winning it was like mind blowing. But then you don't think about like I was 15. I had no friends. I had no need for a pager. It was like,
what do I?
Who's gonna fucking page me? No one. Like it was crazy.
But at least you had a pager.
Totally. I win
so
this
cool.
pager. All the curlers are like, "You want a page?" They're coming up to me. It was almost
Let me
like,
see it. Can I see it?
Yeah. Who wants to touch me? Like I won this pager. And then I like called like whatever phone company it was hooked up to, set up the whole thing, and then like. Maybe over the course of a year, I got like 2 calls.
Yeah,
on
you
my
got like
pager,
6 pages.
Nice.
Oh, I gotta go find a phone, everybody. I gotta.
Half those were from your mom asking like, "When are you coming home?" or "Where are you?"
Nice.
100%. So yeah,
that's a good answer.
Weirdest.
That is a
Yeah,
great
that's
answer.
gotta be the best one so far.
The best.
so.
I mean, it's got a great story to go with it too, because everybody wanted it.
Everybody.
Oh,
I can
everybody.
totally see that. Like, we're all in this generation where we know the desire to have that pager. That was a big deal.
Man.
I worked at a pager store for about 6 months.
Did you really?
Yes.
My buddy hooked me up with a job because I got fired from a golf course that I worked at. And
how you got fired? Well, I got fired from a golf retail store. So
no, I got fired from a golf course because the wife of the owner, I think that she thought I was hitting on her 17-year-old daughter who had just started working there as well. And I didn't even know which one her daughter was. And I wasn't hitting on her. But
so you just hit on all the girls, or just
no? Maybe
point?
she had me mixed up with somebody else. I don't know. But anyways,
doesn't really matter.
I got fired. So then I worked at a pager store for a while, and everybody hated me.
Yeah.
Because they always came in with pager problems, and I didn't know how to fix them. So
I don't know how to help you. I just got fired from a golf course.
yeah, that job was easy.
Yeah.
What skill or talent outside of curling do we need to know about?
I mean, we've already talked about some of them. What's a good? Do you want like? I mean, I played drums since I was 11. I was like a musician before I was a comedian. That was my first like foray on stage. So yeah, I still have drum. I've got the electric drums in my studio right here beside me, and yeah, I still love to drum. It's a great instrument. I was also kind of thinking of like stupid human tricks, like I can clap with one hand.
Do you pull that
that's
out?
it's also a talent that people should probably know about.
I agree. All right.
Definitely having them back on. I hope you can.
We're
all
gonna
have
find
better
more of
stories the
those,
next time.
man.
All right, we're just I guess, yeah. What helped you along the way to becoming a better curler? I mean, you were ranked pretty high at some point. You don't. Well, you said you don't curl anymore.
At some point.
I mean,
at some point,
saying,
I was
like,
ranked pretty high. Yeah. No,
I was gonna
know.
skip that question, and then I was like,
No. What helped me along the way? That's a good question. Yeah, what did help me along the way? Well, I think the biggest thing was realizing that playing with people you like is really important. I think I spent too much time very fixated on curling with people because of their talent and not because of whether or not I liked them off the ice or on the ice for that matter. So yeah, I think the best 4 years of my curling career by far were because I was playing with three guys that I was very close with and that I had a really high respect for as guys, as players. We got along really well, and yeah, that was a lesson that I think a lot of curlers have to learn. That lesson. I think it's very easy to get sucked in by talent, but I think there is a lot to be said for personal chemistry. So
that's a great answer.
Yeah.
I like that answer.
All right. You're going to a spiel. What's your ideal team? Curlers, non-curlers, living, dead, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The spiel can be from any era
Doesn't
as well.
matter. Yep.
Yeah. And where are you going?
yeah. I am in this alternate universe. Rick Sawatsky contracts an illness and can no longer curl, and I'm going to the BC Provincials any of the 7 years in a row that Jim Cotter won. And then I get to win. So that's
Got
it.
it.
I have no time.
So-
I'm not going to be like, oh, I want to curl with Jimi Hendrix. Fuck that.
No.
Get me on a team that wins BC. That was my only goal my whole life. And Jim Cotter's best friend just had to be a lead. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.
Stupid Rick Swatsky.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. All right.
And it sucks because it's very funny because like Jim and Rick are both like the nicest guys ever. I'm obviously joking a little bit, but and that's why I said illness. If I didn't like Rick, I would have been like, in an alternate universe, Rick is dead.
Rick dies. Yeah.
Got it.
In this
But we're
one,
curlers,
he's
so
still
we're nice
alive.
people.
He just
Yeah.
exactly. He just gets sick, and then I get the call, and I get to go to the Briar. That's
Got
all.
it.
That's all I want, baby.
All right.
Now, does he have to be sick through provincials and the Briar, or just?
Oh, I'm playing in the Briar. Yeah,
Okay,
he's
yeah,
got it.
I figured as much. I just wanted
this
I
is
wanted to
it.
confirm that.
Yeah.
Hey, it's all good. Yeah.
All right. Last one. If curling had a walk-up song and you could have a walk-up song, what's your walk-up song?
Well, this one, I read this one, and this one's always very funny to me because I know that there are curlers who, they obviously like to warm up with music. And I tried that for a little bit, but curling is like, I'd listen to this like heavy rock song. I'd be like, yeah, let's go, and then you get out on the ice and it's just like,
And then it's like
Throw it two.
dead calm.
throw one halfway.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like nothing going. Yeah, exactly. Especially being a lead, I'm like listening to Refused. I'm like, yeah, let me out there. I'm gonna rip some shit up. And then, then Dean's like,
Throw one top
then you're
four,
like,
can you?
yeah, exactly. You're like, good game. 2.5. Okay, cool. Like it's just, So it is a weird one, but I would say, yeah, if I had to have a walk-up song, it would be New Noise by Refused. If I was going to have like a heavy walk-up song,
Got it.
that would be my number one choice. But realistically for me, I genuinely started meditating before curling games for a while, and that was really effective for me. And I would listen to Fleet Foxes a lot. So maybe that would be my my walk up song, like just some kind of nice like White Winter Hymnal by Fleet Foxes. The most chill walk up song on earth.
We better book them for soon.
Yeah.
talk through some of these things.
Yeah.
All right. You got any sponsors you want to mention?
Mention all your other podcasts.
Pimp all your other things.
I retired, so no sponsors for me. But yeah, you can listen to the podcast we talked about quite a bit on this show, Blocked Party. As I said, it's a fun show. Me and Stefan Heck have a guest on every week to talk about a time we got blocked on social media. That's at Blocked Party Pod on Twitter. I also have a podcast about nu metal, which if you're not familiar with, that's like Korn and Limp Bizkit and all those bands. It's me and a friend, Brian Quinby. We go back through nu metal albums, and we do one episode a month. That's called the POD cast, and that's at the POD_cast on Twitter, cast with a K. And then, yeah, just follow my curling account. It's at Cullen on Curling on Twitter. And I also have a newsletter, cullenoncurling.substack.com, where I write about curling stuff that I think no one else is covering. Like I just did a series on what the best teams you could make with the same first names are.
Yeah,
I
enjoyed that one.
Thank you. Yeah, and men's and women's, I did that. And yeah, I'm just trying to think of different ways to engage with the game always. And yeah, so hit me up, Cullen on Curling on Twitter.
Sweet.
Excellent. All right. I look forward to having you back soon.
Yeah, I would love to come back anytime.
We can talk about how wrong all of our Olympic predictions were.
For sure.
Yeah, seriously.
And by
rub it in.
By then it'll be time to like do Briar predictions.
There you go.
Or something like that. And I also want to figure out more about your comedy career. I think that's something that can definitely eat up a few minutes of a show that would entertain anybody, curling related or not. I think that sounds like fun. So
sweet. Yeah, no, thanks. I really appreciate it. And again, sorry for that I had to cancel last time, but glad you guys were able to have me back. And yeah, great to chill with you guys. And yeah, anytime I'm here.
Very good. All right. Well, John, again, thank you from all of us, and we'll catch you again soon.
All right. Sounds good. See you guys.
All right. That's it. Season 2, episode 9. Everybody, thanks to John for coming on. That was pretty awesome, pretty fun. I'm looking forward to having him back. If you want to connect with the show and let us know who else you want us to have on as guests, do that. Curling Nation at curlingnetwork.com. Otherwise, connect with us at Facebook or Twitter at Curling Nation. Instagram, we're at The Curling Nation. If you just want to listen to the show, watch the show, Apple, Spotify, Google, YouTube, your favorite podcatcher, whatever, it's all there. Otherwise, you can hit us up at Venmo at Curling Nation if you want to send us a couple bucks. Otherwise, I think that's it for this week. Myself, Mike McDermott, Joel Dietz, Craig Brown. Thanks again to John Cullen. Good curling, everybody. Out.